Ever had a conversation where you made a bold statement, then paused, tilted your head, and said, "On second thought"? Welcome to On Second Thought with Erick, Richey, and Bish Bates, where hot takes meet humble pivots, where leadership, life, and current events collide, and where it's perfectly fine to change your mind, out loud. Whether it's marriage, manhood, or the madness in the media, Erick and Bish bring humor, heart, and a little healthy debate, because wisdom lives on the other side of, "Wait, let me rethink that." This is On Second Thought. Press play and be ready to pause.
Hey man, how's it going?
Good, man. How you been?
Good, man. Busy, but good. What you
Yeah,
been up
yeah,
to?
yeah. About the same thing, just keeping it moving. A lot of things happening. So, uh, interviewed with the company for a new position last week, and still waiting to hear results of that. While still working with the chiropractic office I've been working on. So, yeah.
Very nice. Okay. All right. Are you optimistic about the other position?
Yeah, I can't tell. I used to be, or I am pretty good at reading people, but the way that they train you to do interviews over there is very, you give out no clues of
Right.
anything, whether you like someone or not. And that's exactly what I got is try to read between the lines and see anything, but they don't give them a lot of leeway. They give them the questions they have to ask.
Right.
They have to take notes, and then it's thank you. Yeah, we'll let you know. So they don't really give them a lot of openings to have just free conversation,
Mm,
unfortunately. So you can't
okay.
really tell where that stands. So I'm cautiously optimistic, I should say. So
Okay. That's fair enough. Fair enough. Well,
yeah, but the
hopefully comes
chiropractic
to.
office is keeping me busy enough as it is right now. So
Oh, good. Okay.
yeah. I actually had to have a meeting with all the doctors in the office with the owner out of town,
Okay.
laying out the new objectives and direction of the clinic, which was, I think, well received by half the doctors.
So the fact it was
Yeah,
received well received by anybody is good. Okay.
yeah. And then, and then the other couple were, I think, less than enthusiastic about the changes that were going to be coming down and how things were going to be going, unfortunately, and that's usually a telltale sign as to whether they're going to stick around and want to be part of the team or not.
Right.
So people don't accept change too well when it's made on their behalf, but they do well when they make their own moves and own change. And I actually talked about relationships when I was going into the scenario of the direction the company is going, which is I started out with a couple of questions. Hey, what makes a good relationship? Y'all are all newly married, except for one
Mm-hmm.
who's been married a while. I'm like, come tell me a couple of keys to a good relationship. And they're like, communication. I'm like, yeah, communication is huge. Trust, absolutely. Trust is big. I said, now give me the opposite. What I mean, y'all were in relationships beforehand, and you know what works and doesn't. So what causes a relationship to just start to deteriorate? And one of them said, well, lack of communication, and the other said, not meeting expectations.
Okay.
And I thought that was really interesting because I think that's a good perspective, which is, and that was the veteran, the guy who's been married for a while,
Mm,
and he's like, yeah, because in one person's head, there's expectations not being met,
mm-hmm.
whatever that might be, spoken or otherwise, and that happens long enough, you start to disconnect. And I said, and that can happen in business, right? You're excited. You forget about why you got into that relationship in the first place. You were happy to get the job. You were happy to be in this relationship. Someone wanted to go out with me. That is
Right.
awesome. I was so excited. Someone wanted to go out with me. Someone wanted to hire me and pay me to do something that I enjoy. And for whatever reason, things start to deteriorate over time, um, because both relationships and jobs uh, require work.
Yeah. Facts.
And we assume that things are just going to stay at the fun level. right? The intro, the honeymoon period, you get it at work and you get it in your relationship, right? The fun honeymoon period, but that fades. And what work are you going to put in to continue to date each other? Again, job or relationship.
Right.
What work are you going to put in? And people are like, well, it shouldn't be work. It should relationship. It should be fine. You know, like you're happy. Why should it be work? And it's because we forget. We get on with life, you know, whether you're busy at work, you don't want to come home and talk about work all the time. You don't, you just got done talking to everybody and putting on this persona, which is a lot of effort.
Right.
You know, that's tough to come home and talk about everything that happened. So you say the day was fine and your communication goes down. And at work, you go in and you're tired from whatever you guys did at home, and you don't talk to anybody. And you just go into your hole, and you realize you're not building that cup of relationship up at work with enjoying each other and having fun and remembering why you were excited to be at that job. And that relationship starts to deteriorate as well. And that's basically the conversation we had about how do we meet expectations of ownership. And that's the fun part of being in a small company is you can know exactly where those expectations are versus a large company. You only know the expectations of your manager, right?
Right.
You don't get to meet the head, the CEO usually and talk
Not
to
typically.
them. Not typically. No, not in a big company. So you got to meet your expectations of your manager and your boss. And eventually it deteriorates where they're just putting too much on me. They don't understand what I have to do. And what they don't understand is that's coming from someone behind them and higher up. And it's a difficult conversation because if you were hired today with those changes in place, you wouldn't know any different. You'd be like, okay, this is what the job is, you
Right.
know? But instead, they workers think my boss doesn't like me. My boss is coming after me. My boss is just keep putting more stuff on top of me. And I have to be honest, as someone who's been a manager for a number of years, we don't think that deeply about you, that we're trying to come after you. We just
Oh,
really
right.
don't. You know, we don't want you to be upset. We want you to enjoy your job, but we're not trying to pick on anybody. We don't have time to do
Yeah,
any of that
I
stuff, you
think
know?
we live rent free in our people's head way more than they live rent free in our heads, you know. And so, and I think that they think that there's a lot of nefarious intent behind a lot of things, when in actuality, it's really just us trying to, well, hopefully, it's just us trying to, do a good job for the organization, you know. But they think
Yeah.
it's somehow specific to them and somebody coming after them and that sort of thing. But the truth is, and this is probably an unfortunate reality, is that if you do your job well, you usually get left alone. Right. Now the truth is that, you're supposed to spend, 80% of your time with the top 20% of your people. And what you normally end up doing is spending 80% of your time with the bottom 20%. So under normal circumstances, not ideal circumstances, but under normal circumstances, if you're doing your job well, ain't nobody messing with you. Right. So if it's when you're not doing your job well and now all of a sudden you feel like people are coming after you and you're going to decide that it's personal as opposed to it's about your job performance. And most of the time, it's about the job performance. I'm not suggesting there aren't times when it's personal, that people have biases or whatever the situation might be, but that's not the case most of the time. Most of the time, you've made that stuff up in your head, and that's usually oftentimes because you're unwilling to confront the fact that you're doing a subpar job.
I think you know you're doing a subpar job. I'll be
No,
honest
you
with
think
you.
so? Tell me why you
I
say that.
think okay, I know people believe that they are the hero in their story, right? They believe that they're the hero in their story and they're doing everything that they can to do the job well. No, especially as we started work from home. But I would say even before work from home, you know that you're not in your seat. You know you're out there talking to your buddies and moving around and not getting done things in a timely manner. You are aware of that. You, for instance, have time issues, right? You know you're going to be late to stuff. And if
Mm-hmm.
you were sitting down with your boss and he's like, man, you're always like 5, 10 minutes late to everything, you'd be like, what? No, you're going to be like, yeah, I know. I need to better, but I need to set my clocks better. I don't know if I need to set my clocks ahead. So I'm getting there on what that's you, but you know where your weaknesses are. And I think
Yeah, but I
associates
also
know.
also have, and I have insight, and I think that lots of people don't have that level of introspection, honestly.
Okay.
Because I've had enough conversations with people over, um, you know, dozens of years, dozens might sound like a lot because it sounds like in multiples of 12, but over decades, that's similar, but of
Couple of decades.
couple of decades of, working with people and sitting down with them and being transparent and honest with them about sort of where they are and what they can improve upon. And it is pretty consistent that folks come up with excuses. They talk about why things are out of their control. They talk about how they think they compare to other people, and why are you coming after me when so and so is doing this? It's
true.
the rare person that in those moments can focus on their own contributions to the circumstance and just their own contribution to the circumstance. They often pivot to something else, especially things outside of their control. Because then it relieves them of their own responsibility. So I wish that's the case. And I will tell you, the people that I enjoy working with the most are the people who I can have a conversation with. I can get along with in general, but have a conversation with about things that as your supervisor, as your leader, I see that you need to consider looking at and working on, and they at least consider that. They process that. They think about it. And sometimes they may come back and go, let me tell you why I think maybe that's a little off base. But the people who immediately, the first thing they do is tell you why you're wrong. The first thing they do is try to tell you how it's not their fault, how you're seeing them incorrectly. Though, to me, that means you don't have that introspection. You don't have that insight into yourself to recognize those things. That means to me, you haven't been thinking about that stuff. And I don't think you have to have a low self-esteem, but I think you have to have enough of a realistic self-perception that you can recognize the things that you need to work on. And when somebody else says it, they don't become the enemy. They just become a mirror to the things that you already know. And if you don't know it, you should have enough control, enough reason within yourself to at least be open to the fact that you might be imperfect. And they might be highlighting an imperfection that might be something that you want to work on. And lots of people struggle with that. They really do struggle with that. Both, the analogy you made was both work and relationships, both at work, in your work relationships, and in your personal relationships. People really struggle with that. So the same way that if you talk about, me being late, by the way, me being late is not 5 or 10 minutes. It's usually like 2 minutes, but
you've gotten better. That's improvement though.
Yeah, it's usually 2 minutes. Now, maybe the part of that is because it's all in person for the most part, right? So it's just walking from one place to another. It's not driving. When I was trying to and I was going somewhere all the time and going from one site to another and having traffic issues and all those sorts of things that I should have been planning for, that's when it was bigger numbers. But anyway, but even in personal relationships, if you have a significant other and they tend to be late getting ready for something, and you bring it up, now they should have enough insight to recognize that they in fact have a tendency to be late and to not be ready at the agreed upon time to be ready. And so if you say something, it shouldn't be about you shouldn't say anything or you did something wrong or why you bother me. It shouldn't be any of that stuff. It should be actual acknowledgement and recognition that yes, I am running late. I will work to try to be ready as quickly as possible. Now, what they'll focus on is you don't need to tell me that, or you don't need to, they have all sorts of reasons other than just the insight. Now, that doesn't mean that you should not have the insight to recognize that it's probably a bad decision to say something. You should know that because you know how it's going to go. But the truth is that shouldn't actually be the case. You shouldn't have to make that decision. Do I say a truth to this person, whether it's a colleague, a superior, a subordinate, or to a spouse or a family member or a friend? You shouldn't have to make the decision of, do I say this truth to them, or do I risk some sort of hella backlash from it? You should be able to say something to somebody and not have that backlash. They should be able to actually have a reasonable conversation with you about it, as opposed to this hyper emotional, hypersensitive sort of reaction to it. That doesn't mean they don't feel it. That means they don't lean into those feelings. They may feel like I'm trying my best and why are you talking to me right now? But that doesn't mean that's how they have to react. It's still a choice between having that feeling and what they decide to say. The same way that we should probably know lots of times not to say something. And so we should be having that thing between that frustration of why are they not ready or whatever the case is, and having the conversation. We should be editing ourselves as well, right? So if we're both doing that, we should be in good shape. But a lot of times one or both parties don't do a good job at that.
Yeah, no, I can limit what I say, but the subtitles on my face come out. the way I'm breathing, the way I sigh, like they pick up on my frustration, so I'm trying to, okay, so we're just gonna be late. Okay, I got it, and that's in my head, but they're like, why do you gotta give me that hard time? Why you gotta give me that pressure, So, but
That sounds like somebody saying you can't feel the way that you feel.
no, you
Right. If you're
cannot. Yeah, you
if
can't.
you're not doing anything with it, if you're
Yeah.
stomping on something, but if you're just there processing your emotions and you're not like in their face trying to make them see you process your emotions. You're just there processing and they look at you, see your face processing, and then they go, I see that you have a thought there. I don't like that thought. Why do you have to have that thought and that feeling? That, my friend, is the height of lack of accountability. The height of it. It's anyway, sorry.
Sure. Yeah. No, no.
Because you're not allowed to feel your feeling, right?
No, you're not allowed to feel. You can't just press upon your significant other your frustrations. It's something that, as I would say, as men, we hold back on to be sure, and we've learned what buttons we're not willing to press to get into something before going out. Even you just want to go have a good evening. You're getting ready to head out somewhere. You're going to have a good time, and you don't need to start it in an argument, but you can feel a little bit frustrated that we're not heading out to our good time a little bit sooner.
Well, you have to feel it invisibly because if they sense it at all, it's over, right?
I'm going downstairs. I'm having a drink. I'm waiting, and I'll start my good time down here alone,
right?
Waiting for
pregame on my own. Or
you're ready to go now? Oh, okay, cool. I didn't realize what time it was. My third drink in.
yeah. By the way, what are you? You like? That looks like iced tea.
The Bloody Mary today, man.
A Bloody Mary.
Bloody
Oh my
Mary.
gosh. That feels like a hella white drink. I don't know. I don't talk to many
So
black
if you
people
haven't
that
tried
drink
this,
Bloody
man, this
Marys.
stuff is amazing. This does everything for you. It's not just like V8 juice. It's zing zang, and you mix that with a little bit of vodka, and it's a good fresh start in the morning, I think.
Wait.
And
No, it has vodka. That's not the morning. I mean, I know
I don't know.
technically we're at noon right now, and so it's a little bit early, but
Yeah.
that should not be the way we talk about starting is with
Late
drinking
morning. Why?
vodka.
What mimosas and Bloody Marys are a perfectly acceptable start to any weekend occasion when you have kids, in-laws you have to go see, or family you got
Or
to go
you're
see.
an alcoholic. Okay.
And we enjoy a beverage on game day. It's game day, okay? I'm just I'm getting ready for the game.
Another
So
loss. Yeah. So that is a legitimate
oh,
reason to drink early is
to
being a
get into
Cowboys
it.
fan
Yes.
and getting ready to watch
How
them
did the
play.
Ravens do last
That
week,
is
man?
a
I forget. How
legitimate.
did the
That is a
Ravens?
legitimate reason.
The Ravens did how last week? I forget, man. 'Cause that was a tough game, y'all lost to too. And I was shocked.
We got smacked up and down that field.
Man,
Our defense is really on a struggle bus right now.
every defense. I think all the teams are acting very differently than I think anyone projected this season to be.
Yeah, but I think we're bottom 5 in defense right now in the league in terms of points scored.
Hey, we're down there with you. Congratulations. Hey, we're together. Ravens and Cowboys. Look at who would say
not
that sentence.
you're right. That's not okay. As a Ravens fan, that is against my religion to be in the same category of any way with the Cowboys. So that's not okay.
And we're doing Green Bay tonight, which is going to be.
They're going to be, and we're playing the Chiefs, and the Chiefs they're 1-2 as well.
The Chiefs aren't. Yeah,
they aren't their normal. So I'm hopeful that of the two, 1 and 2 used to be good teams. We're the less bad of the two, but we'll see.
Wow, we have the same record as you guys. Look at that, 1 and 2.
That's crazy.
And the Chiefs. So man, we're contenders.
No, we're all not contenders right now. That's the reality of the situation. That's right. By the way, speaking of, so I have a vodka-based drink as well. This is pineapple vodka, Deep Eddy pineapple vodka, some coconut rum, and then pineapple juice. So very
nice.
Citrusy, fruity.
Yeah.
Drink. So yeah.
Actually, I just got Malibu pineapple for my wife to try this week. I went there to get the coconut rum, which I did get as well. But she takes this and mixes it with like the bubbly drink.
What's the bubbly?
Like zero calories.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's called bubble or something. But it's 0 calorie carbonated water that has a little bit of flavor, and then you mix it with it. So it's a very low caloric intake.
Nice. Okay.
except for the pineapple rum.
The vodka,
But
yeah, or the
yeah,
rum, yeah.
so besides that, but yeah, so she got something like that, and has thoroughly enjoyed that as well. So, but yeah, I think you would. I think if you like tomato juice, you would
I don't
enjoy
like
Bloody
tomato
Mary.
juice.
Oh,
I
you
don't.
really don't like tomato juice?
No, I like
Okay.
tomatoes on stuff, but I don't drink tomato juice. Like that's
Have you?
not.
When was the last time you tried tomato juice?
I try. Well, first off, I don't. You don't need to try it more than once. So if you tried it and didn't like, it, you don't go. Let me
When you were a
try it
kid, I'm
again.
asking like your palate changes. When was
So
the last
it
time
depends
you
on what
tried it?
you call tomato juice.
Okay.
I've had a Bloody Mary within the last decade, maybe. I have
Okay.
had like tomato based drinks. I think V8 has something that's a tomato based drink. I've had that before.
It's all good.
So, but just tomato juice, the Bloody Mary, no, no. And then what I had was some version of it was like an Old Bay something. So it had like Old Bay, and so
Oh
it
yeah.
was a
Okay.
very shoot
Everything.
my daggum camera. My hand
Yeah.
gestures.
Your computer's just too fancy.
Yeah, whatever, man.
Yeah.
I just can't talk with my hands. Can you? Thank you.
There you go.
Yeah. So it's just, I don't know. I don't want to. I feel like I'm eating and drinking at the same time, and I just don't want to do that.
A little bit. I would say that's true because it is a little bit of a thicker drink for
Hmm.
sure. Yeah. So, um, but anyhow,
So, and I'm
um,
already thick, so I don't need nothing to make me
you
thicker.
don't need to be nothing
I don't
thicker,
nothing,
nothing
only thicker.
heavier. So yeah, okay. Um, so I was thinking about this during my interview this week with this large company,
Hmm.
which is I'm going in. I would be going into a team that's a tenured team,
Okay.
and the challenges of going into a team that's a tenured team is it tells you they've been around a while.
Hmm.
It tells you that they've worked together for a while, and yet the feedback is also that you need to improve their performance
Hmm.
and their efficiencies,
Okay.
and the challenge of that now as an outsider coming in is having that conversation with the team.
Hmm.
And I don't think that's a team I don't think that's a team conversation. I think that's a one-on-one conversation. I think if you work on each person to improve, the team improves, right?
That's true, but it depends on what the situation is, determine if it's a team conversation or not, right? But yeah, I
Yeah.
understand what you're
So
saying now.
I mean, when you're talking to a tenured team, because the first thing you know that's going to happen if you talk about improving efficiencies and making changes is they're in the little group chat,
Hmm.
pinging each other like, doesn't know what he's talking about. You've been here for a minute. What are you talking about? Like we've been doing this for a while and we're fine. Little do they know, So, um,
Here's the
so
thing: you think they don't know?
this goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning, which is being the hero in your world. You think that you're doing everything really well for a while now. Otherwise, why would you still have that job? Why would you still be in that position?
Well, but
So I
that's the
think,
individual. You don't think that individuals on the team have an assessment of what the team's strength and opportunities are?
yeah, but that's that person's problem,
Yeah, well, but here's the thing.
or them. They're the ones holding us back right there. Yeah.
But in terms of having team conversations, I'll take my hands down for it. Thing zooms out. But in terms of having team conversations, what asking them what the team can do better, right, allows you to take the things that you already know based on what your hiring manager has told you, the data that you can look through, all that sort of stuff, the pretext of the position. It allows you to take that and put it into the public conversation without you being the one that says it, right? So they're probably, if there are, let's go with 7 things they really need to do better. I'm making it. I don't know if it's 7. If
Sure.
you ask them as a team, what do we think we do well and what do we think we could do better, right? You're gonna get 5 to 7 of those 7 things come from inside the team, and now it's not you telling them; it's you going, okay. You can essentially go, okay, I get what you're saying. Let me look into that a little bit. You already got the data, you already know, right? But at least now, when you come back to them and go, I did a little research, and what you said was that this was an opportunity, and it turns out the data is telling us that's the case, right? And so now it's not you telling them; it's them telling you, and you then helping them fix the thing they told you about. Right. So you can do it in a team way. I do get that sometimes those group conversations can be uncomfortable and they can sometimes spiral and that sort of thing. But I think if you're trying to tell them what they're doing wrong, then yes. But if you're using it as an opportunity for them to tell you what they do well, so they can brag on themselves a little bit, and what they think they could improve upon, you're going to get some breadcrumbs to most of the things that you've already been told. And now you're not coming to them with information because if they say it's true, if you say it's a lie, right? And so now they can't disagree with it because it's like they said it, right? You're just saying you guys told me this. I then looked at the data. Here's the data. It confirms that. And so let's talk about how we can make this better, right? So, and then for the things that don't come up, maybe those are the things that you sort of think about one-on-one. Just a thought. Some of it can be done as a team, though.
That is interesting because I didn't think that would be something that would go over well. I would see in my head, I'm picturing a lot of finger pointing. You know, like some of us on the team could do better with blah blah blah. X, Y, Z. So, and you can normally tell who that person is because they're no longer contributing to the conversation, So,
or
and
the
in
thing,
that
their
sense,
contribution is something that they think they do well, but other people don't. And that's the thing you're going to mention, right? But
and they could be blind to it too. You have your
Yeah.
blinders on and you're only focused on yourself and you don't realize you're the weak link on the team.
Yeah.
Because no one's ever told you that. You come in now, are you the bad guy or are you the guy that's helping them to improve and they're wanting that help with improvement?
You're going to be both. That's just the reality.
Sure.
It's going to vary by person and it's going to vary by the problem you're trying to fix. You're going to be both at all times. You're going to be both. Some people are going to love you for it and some people are going to hate you for it. Right. And it just depends on their particular personal perspective. What their bent is about general improvement and working towards excellence, what their personal challenges are related to that specific issue that you're working on, and their perspective on that issue. So that's the reality. And I think you have to have a certain willingness to be the villain without being villainous, right? People can vilify you.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you have to do things that make you the villain, right?
Sure.
And so you can still work towards being the person that's there for them, that supports them, that helps them get better, that sets high standards for them to reach and all those sorts of things. And they may vilify you for some of that stuff, but that doesn't mean that you have to do things that would be, truly villainous and negative. But I still think, I think that a good team that works well together, that has good cohesion, can have conversations about what they need to improve upon. They can say, Joey struggles with X, Y, and Z, right? And they should be able to survive that. Now, a lot of teams can't do that, but that's what you should be working towards.
Yeah.
And so I would rather have that uncomfortable conversation where maybe they're saying things about each other that people don't like to hear, and then teach them how to have those conversations in productive ways, how to hear that information in productive ways. I will tell you that one book that I read a while back, and I have every new team member read, is a book called Thanks for the Feedback by Douglas Stone, and I think it's Sheila Heen, something like that. It's the art and science of receiving feedback, if I'm not mistaken. And so it's not about giving feedback. It's about receiving feedback. And I think that that's one of the most important skills that people can develop, is that skill to receive feedback in a productive way. It talks about all the things, all the triggers that you have, all the things that happen in your head, right, that make you not want to hear it, that make you think this is untrue, whatever the case is. It's lots of things that they talk about. And it is it's a really good book. It's really practical. It has a lot of tips. Almost everybody who reads it is going to see themselves with like flashing lights in this book. They're going to see the things, and they're now going to recognize it, and they're going to be able to label it, and then they're going to have the tools to work through whatever those feelings are that they have. And so I think that's a really, really good. And so like I said, I have every new person on my team, I ask them to read that book because I think it is so good. We did like a book club on it within the team at one point. So.
I mean,
people have to be able to see
that's brilliant because you're setting them up for the conversations that you're going to have. Like one book that I've always read and I've encouraged other leaders to read has always been like Having Difficult Conversations. Because that book goes through the different personalities you're going to encounter and how to have that different conversation with each person. You can't have the same conversation with everyone on your team because they all receive information differently.
Right.
But I've never done a thing where you set up your team for success of receiving your challenging information, because they're going to recognize when you're giving them feedback, constructive criticism, that how they're going to receive it. You're setting yourself up for success with that, which is pretty impressive. Almost like your never-ending drink there that's always at the top. So
So,
I'm
so,
impressed with that as well.
I wasn't going to say anything, but
I
here's what
want that
happened.
Willy Wonka drink right now.
I wasn't going to
You
say
put it
anything.
down, it fills up. I'm like, what the heck is going?
That's funny. So here's the thing. So what happened was I was running late. That's why you mentioned it at the top of the show. But I was running late to start, and so I didn't measure, right? I didn't measure the drink to get it into the right amount for the cup, and so I just was pouring stuff in there and shook it up, and then put some ice in the cup, and then brought the shaker. So now the shaker brought the shaker, and then have been pouring it in. So I think that's funny because I was like, should I say something that I'm going to keep refilling this thing until it's? But I just finished the shaker, so the shaker's done. But yeah, that is hilarious. The fact that you noticed that is funny, but yeah. But one of the things that I have done, I'm in a unique situation in that I deal with people who are instructors, right? A lot of them are in front of the room teaching classes.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I implemented early on was peer observations, right? Where they would observe each other and provide feedback. Now, I created the form. I looked at what we were doing and what we needed to improve upon. And I created what's the criteria, what does a good instructor look like? I did get their input, but it started with my assessment of the team in terms of what the form looked like. They gave me some additional things. We tweaked it together. We came up with it. And we have since adjusted it because we've gotten better. And now we don't need to focus on all the things we were focusing on. There's a new set of things we should focus on. But one of the beauties of that process is that we are now constantly giving each other feedback. Constantly, right? We've created this environment, this culture where you just give each other feedback. You just share with each other. Now, there's still times when they struggle because now they're comfortable giving each other instructional feedback. But when it comes to other things, sometimes we still struggle, and that's sort of some of the things we still have to work on. But I mentioned that to say that sometimes when feedback comes from the boss, it carries with it a weight that can sometimes get in the way of just hearing it and getting better from it.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things that I think is good about this peer feedback form that we have, is because, and everybody, by the way, is accountable for doing X amount of peer feedbacks every year. Right?
Really?
Observing their peers. I measure them. I tell them what their numbers are. And again, here's the thing. And I've made it a not dangerous situation. I'm trying to think of the right word, but not dangerous. In that I told them, I will not be using what your peers say about you in your feedback form in your evaluations. That's not what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna use my observation of you, but I will not use your peer observation. So it's not non-punitive. That's what I meant. It's gonna be non-punitive, right? This is just about helping you grow and get better. I will not be using it. I don't quote them. I look at them, right? And I see what they say. And if I disagree with something, or I think, well, by the way, only way I'm going to disagree is if I watched it at the same time, by the way, or if they give them feedback that I think might be off because I think it may be something that they do that's a good trait, but the person's highlighting it as a negative or something like that. But for the most part, I don't say anything. I just appreciate them for doing it. I talk about the highlights of how good the observation was, and I talk about the highlights of how good the person on the podium was. And if there are ongoing things that I notice, either because I notice it or because it's in the form, I may have a conversation with them and say, hey, I noticed this, what are your thoughts on it? But again, it's not going to make it into their evaluation because honestly, our goal is to become the best of the best, not to, not to, scrape the bottom. And so I'm not going to hold you accountable for being the best of the best. I'm going to hold you accountable for working to get better, but the bar is not, are you the best? Right. So that's unfair. But as we're working towards it, we talk about those things. So all that to say is that by having them do it, it becomes an easier process. I don't have to say it anymore. I don't have to tell people. And by the way, I have somebody on my team who I have asked to be sort of our guru for what it is to be an excellent instructor. And I have that person do additional observations. And I have had conversations like, I need you to be tough on folks when you do it, because I need people to hear, the harsh version of an assessment of them so that they can continue to work. They don't get too comfortable where they are, because we still have a lot of work to do in order to be the best of the best. And so I still have someone, so it's still not coming from me. It's still not punitive, right? And all those sorts of things. And sometimes if I'm watching somebody, like I happen to be, in the room, if it's in person, or in the virtual room, if it's virtual, and I see something needs to be improved, and I know they're being observed, I will message the person observing them and go, did you notice X, Y, and Z? If they go, yes, I go, great. Can you make sure that's in there? If they go, no, I would go, well, does it, what I just said, does it sound like what just happened? Do you see it now in retrospect? And if they go, yes, I go, great. Can you please mention that? Because I just need them to get the information. I don't need them to be all, worried about their job, worried about how their evaluation. I don't need them to be worried about that. I just need them to hear it and then work on getting better. And so I think we have to try, as leaders, you have to try to find ways to get out of, to help people get out of their own way with hearing feedback. Because what we want is not to be the one that has to give everybody feedback. We just need them to know what they need to work on and get better.
So as that means that everyone buys into this person that you've assigned as basically chief evaluator of some sort. And what I've usually done is I pick someone who wants to get promoted and wants to grow, because not everyone wants that, right? But this person wants to do it. So I will pull them up and say, can you talk to so-and-so about this? And because I agree with you, I think feedback from your boss is not always received as well as feedback from a peer. Now, that person also has to be open to taking it from that peer. So that peer is somebody that is respected on the team, that has the experience and understanding. And hey, I'm looking to grow, so I want to help you out with what I'm seeing as well. So you don't have to have a challenging conversation with Eric later on, and hopefully they frame it in such a way that it is not combative, but is something that sounds helpful, and it's like, hey, I know you get along with so-and-so. So if you could mention this to them, it would probably help them out a lot. Because if I say it, they're going to sweat it, worried that their job's on the line, that I'm attacking them of some sort, whatever the case might be, whatever goes through your head when you hear something from your boss. Because it happens to us, even at our level, right? When we hear something from our own boss, and it might be a minor thing, but we know that it could affect our job, it could affect our review, it could affect our raise, whatever the case might be. And we have a great relationship with our boss, but as soon as we get that kind of feedback, it's like, oh, man, what does this mean? How does this, so the weight of even someone that's telling you casually something can definitely affect your psyche versus if a peer comes to you and says, hey, man, I just noticed this sometimes when you're talking to your team, and it might go different if you say it like that. And we don't get that a lot. As leaders, we don't get a lot of feedback, and we're appreciative of how it comes off from our peers, but people that maybe aren't leaders maybe tend to get more defensive when they're given feedback, because they're like, why are you attacking me? Why are you coming at me? It's not always the received in an appreciative way of, hey, thanks for noticing that. I really appreciate it. So
well, when I talk about receiving feedback, it does not look like what you just said. Thanks for noticing. Like, listen, I say that to people because I'm trying to model. Let me say this. I try to say that to people as much as possible. Like, I'm recognizing that my imperfections, because I try to model what would be ideal. But almost nobody says, thanks for telling me that in real time. They may say it after the fact, but in real time, it not turning into them being in their feelings is the best I can hope for, right? Them hearing it, them being receptive to it. But man, I shouldn't say never. I've rarely, I can't think of a time, at least right now, where somebody heard feedback that I gave them and was like, thank you, I appreciate that. Like, that's not something I thought about, and I appreciate you doing that. It's possible it happened. I'm sure it has happened. It's not jumping out to me at this moment. All that's jumping out to me are all of those not great conversations that have happened. That's maybe my negative bias, but yeah.
You know what to this day, it still affects me. And man, this is probably 5, maybe 7 years, 8 years ago. I remember going into this large corporation, and I haven't worked for corporations in a while. Usually it's small businesses. I enjoy small businesses more just because of the connection you have to the owner and to affect change. So I go into this large corporation, and they have teams, and they're trying to always make their team the top team, the number one team, and there's awards for it. Like they recognize, out of the 10 teams, this team was the number one performing team, right? And then once you get to that level, your team starts to be pulled into other departments because they're recognized as
the best
top
of the best.
performers.
Yeah,
Best of the
absolutely.
best, right?
Yep.
So I remember I got my team to be the number one team, and they never had been. I mean, from the bottom, basically, number one team in 5 months. 5 months I'm at this company.
Started from the bottom. Now we're
Started
here.
from the bottom. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Drake. So I
Stop
get
trying to
him
act
to
like
be.
you know stuff. Don't quote it. Don't try to act like
I
you
know
cool.
stuff. I know stuff.
No,
Okay, so-
Drake.
It
I know
always
Drake. I know
surprises
Drake.
people.
I know black
Yeah.
stuff. I know hip
So,
hop.
hey,
I'm not old.
Hey.
I love Drake.
But
but
it's true. But I was getting my people promoted in 5 months. They were going to other departments. They had other opportunities. And the feedback I received was there was a number of complaints. And I'm like, how? For me, there's a number of complaints for me. I'm like, yeah. So, and I was really confused here. And I said, from my team? And they're like, yeah, team members, former team members, because we have exit interviews when they leave the department, So, and they were excited to be the number one team. They were excited that they got there.
sure, absolutely.
They didn't like the process of getting there. And you've got to make the process more fun and more enjoyable. And I looked at my boss, who I felt was a young boss, a new boss. That was one of those people that were promoted because they've been in the department the longest. You've seen people like this before, where it's like, you're the best in programming. You're now the program manager, and they're like, "Wait, I've never managed people before. What are you talking about?" But I thought that was unusual feedback. But again, never been in a corporation before like this, so I tried to wrap my head around it because I was really, really confused, because I'm trying to get them to meet your expectations and the company's expectations that they've never done before. So those are going to be challenging conversations. Those are going to be, we need to improve on this, and we need to focus on these things, and having regular conversations, because you got to meet with your people at least twice a month. So you're talking to them about these things repeatedly,
Right.
based on company expectations. So how am I not having these conversations in a way that doesn't hurt their feelings, but still gets performance out of them? And I had a hard time wrapping my head around that, because the softer you become, the more accepting you are of the situation. Like there really isn't a problem. Like
That's a false equivalency.
So when you walk into, what do you mean a false equivalence?
The softer the softer you become in how you have those conversations, the more you're accepting essentially of mediocrity. And I disagree with that assessment.
Well, the reason I say that is because I've seen a number of people come out of these of the softer conversations thinking everything's fine, everything's good, and not making a change because the conversation was so easy. You didn't recognize that you were in trouble, and that the next time this happens, there's going to be a sit down of consequences, perhaps a write up or something, because that conversation was so soft. You came out of there thinking, okay, everything's good. I don't even know what I was even pulled into the office for, actually.
Wait, what does soft mean to you? Because maybe we're thinking of soft. I'm thinking of soft in terms of not the information that's delivered, but how it's delivered. What's soft mean to you?
So I think it's exactly what you said. I'm not
So
talking
it's not
about
the information.
You're not going in there and you're not yelling at them. You're not yelling at. I've never yelled at any of my employees, any of my associates. I've never gone in there and like, what the heck are you think you're doing over there? Are you freaking idiot? What is wrong with you? No, it's always been, okay, let's listen to how you're having this conversation, because all of our calls are recorded for quality assurance. And and we're listening to the conversation. It's like, oh, okay, so do you see how that conversation went? So how do you think we could have said that differently, or how could that have come across differently so that a customer doesn't give us a negative review? Okay, because they're saying you were being disrespectful in the way you were speaking and the way that. So I'm talking very nice, very 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 plain, but we've got to see improvement on this. Like let's focus on meeting the standards of XYZ. And my voice is always like this. There's no elevating of my voice. There's no yelling. It's always a very clear understanding of what we are looking for. Okay.
Although I would suggest that your wife may say that you don't need to raise your voice for you to be yelling at her.
Oh, that is 100% right.
So other people
It's not
might
what you
say,
say, it's how you say it.
well,
Yes,
no. This is the how. This is
Okay.
the how, right?
Okay.
So,
Okay.
so other people might suggest that you don't have to raise your voice for the tone to be yelling, right? For them to receive you reprimanding them, right? And so that's something to keep in mind, is that you could be saying it in the most monotone, most calm voice, and they still hear you reprimanding them, right? Which is not a great feeling.
Is that on me or is that on them?
Both. So it's on them by having them understand better ways to receive feedback. It's on you by still recognizing that you influence how they receive you and to make those adjustments. Now, here's what I will say to you, and I don't know, I don't think you were finished, that's why I interrupted you, I apologize, but what I will say is that sometimes what you're going to have to do, or someone is going to have to do in those situations, is to ask the people, have an open and honest conversation. Hey, I want to make sure that you understand how important adjusting this behavior is. But I think you're doing a good job. I just need you to go from good to great. And I'm worried that I may undersell how important this is, how crucial this is, if I'm not clear. How can I communicate to you in a way? Tell me the information I want you to receive is this behavior has to change, but I believe in you. I think you're doing a good job. And I want you to know that you have my support. How can I communicate that to you in a way that lands with you? You get all of that.
Have you ever had those conversations with people when you first joined a team and said, how do you like to receive information? How do you like to receive feedback? Yeah. Do you like to receive it direct? Do you want me to be a little bit softer with it?
They're liars. They're liars.
Do you think? And what do they say? What do they say?
They lie. Give it to me direct.
Give it direct. I want to hear the truth. Give it to me. Yeah, I can handle it. I'm an adult.
Yes.
And then when you hand it to them, they're like, well, why did you say? Like,
and you know what I say? And what I say is, I was like, so I think I messed up here.
So you own it. Here's
the thing. I always own it.
Okay.
Now, that doesn't mean that I own it and then I don't give them some insight into how they can improve, but I own it. I go, I think I messed up here. What you told me was you wanted it direct.
Yeah.
And that you could handle it. And I felt like I was giving it to you direct, kind, but direct. But I'm looking at you right now, and man, you don't look like this is going well for you, right? And that's not my intent. Tell me what I messed up. Tell me what I did wrong to do that. Now, two things happen there. One, they're going to tell you something potentially that you could do differently in how you communicate it.
Hopefully.
The other thing is they're going to recognize that you did some version of what they asked you to do, and they didn't respond in the way that they thought they would respond. And so they have to now own it. So part of what so it becomes this iterative process, right? Where they thought that's what it took, but it's not what it takes. And so now that you have to call them on, you go, I did what I thought you told me to do. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I missed it. Maybe I was completely off. But this is not what I was hoping to have as the outcome, because I feel like I've demoralized you here. I'm looking at your body language. I'm not saying it is. You can tell me, but I'm worried that that's where we are right now. And then now they can reflect and tell you. So what happens is they start telling you how to do things slightly differently. And they also take ownership for recognizing that you are trying to do exactly what they told you to do. And they now have to own how they receive it. And you don't have to tell them that, because most people that I've dealt with, they do that own assessment. And part of it is because I say, I was trying to do exactly what you told me to do, but this outcome is not what I wanted. I am a person who says, I hate I know I'm about to mess up my camera. I hate subtext. I hate the things that are not said.
Yeah.
And I'm like, say the thing.
Right.
Say it. Let's figure it out. Listen, I've been married. Oh, by the way, I didn't mention this. Today is my 29th anniversary.
Hey, I didn't realize
20,
it. Happy
20,
anniversary,
20,
man.
yeah,
29.
29 years.
Wow.
And so what was I saying though?
That's an accomplishment. Yeah,
It
because you
is.
think
And
marriage and you lose your train of thought.
yeah,
Yeah.
here's what I will tell you. What I will tell you is I actually think that I might keep her. You know what I'm saying? Like I think at this
That's
point,
good.
like I
That's good.
might, you know what I'm
29
saying?
years.
29
29
years. I
years.
think, you know
That's
what?
generous of
Might,
you, man. Yeah.
but yeah,
Now you
anyway,
know.
so
Now you know. But
yeah,
subtext, you don't like subtext.
I don't
Yeah.
like subtext, right? And
Yeah.
so I'm the type of person who says, let's say the thing that we're not saying.
Yeah.
Like, let's talk about it. Oh, here's why I said that. Because that's what I was gonna say. I said I've been married for 29 years, and I may not be great at what I do up front, but I try really hard to be good at apologizing for it and trying to do better going forward. Right. And so by bringing things from subtext to whatever is not subtext, but actual text, the conversations that we're having, it's not things that are not said, it's things that are said. I'd rather than work on the relationship that may be dinged because of the things that we're saying to each other, rather than pretend like we have a good relationship. But what really is happening is we're just not saying the tough things.
Yeah.
And so I encourage my employees to have those conversations with each other. I want to have those conversations with my employees. And I recognize that my employees employees is a strong word, but the people on my team, they receive it in very different ways. Some will receive it very well when I give it to them. And other ones, no matter what they say, they swear, to your point, they swear they can take it. And I know every time I tell them, they always disagree. No matter what they disagree. I'm like, am I always wrong? Like, am I occasionally not wrong? You know what I'm saying? So I recognize that part of it, right? And I call them on it. I was like, hey, listen, sometimes it feels like no matter what I say, if I'm giving you constructive feedback, you have a reason for it. And I'm going to encourage you to consider whether or not you actually have a reason for it, if you just don't like hearing this information, right? I'm going to encourage you to think about that, right? And for others, I may say something different, but I'm simply saying that I don't like things not said. I'm saying I think you should go ahead and say it, right? And then you can deal with the repercussions from there.
So one thing that I do say to people to challenge them is, I've been doing this for a while now in a number of different industries. And what I'm asking you to do is try this. Just try out what I'm asking you to do, which is a little different than what you've been doing, but just try this. If I'm wrong, let's reevaluate it. I'll own it. Hey, I was wrong. What ideas do you have that could be different? Because what you're doing now isn't really working. And I would really like you to just try this and prove me wrong. I would love to be proven wrong. Do this and say, you don't know what you're talking about. You've never been here before in this department or done this job. You haven't sat in my chair. So I'm going to show you that what you're saying is not correct. And I would love that. Do that. And I'm going to listen to those calls. I'm going to hear how those conversations are going. But if they tend to work, why don't we roll this out to everybody so they all have your same success? But I'm ready to get the feedback that I was wrong. And usually they'll take it in that sense. They'll take it in the sense that hey, my boss just told me to try this thing that I don't agree with. And if it doesn't work out, I got to tell him he's wrong. And who doesn't want to tell their boss they're wrong? You know? So, I mean, that's what I've done to get them to consider doing things differently. Is you get the opportunity to tell me that what I suggested didn't work, and you made me look foolish, and I made these mistakes because of you, and I set them up for that conversation to happen, and I can tell you it rarely has come back as, you didn't know what you were talking about here. You know, they're like, I had no idea this was going to work. This is usually what I hear, is I had no idea this was going to work. And I never thought about this. And I've been doing this for 10 years, 12 years. No manager, no leaders ever talked to me this way before and given me this kind of direction. Usually I'm either told I'm doing everything great and just keep doing it that way, but I don't get promoted. And I don't get the reviews I'm looking for. but no one's told me that this is what I need to do to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And my whole thing is I want my team to be able to leave and say that I learned something here. And I think that's my job as a leader, is to put them in a position to go where they want to go and find the success that they want to find. And some of them don't. And if they don't want to leave, then I just want you to be the best in your position that you are. I want to make you the best performer in this department. And people are coming to you for advice. People are coming to you for suggestions. And I want to set you up for success here so that you enjoy this role that you're in for the next 10, 15 years. So,
Okay, fair enough.
yeah.
Now, let me ask you a question. So, so you started this part of the conversation around the fact that you had taken a team from sort of worst to first, and that they were getting promoted, and that then the feedback you were getting was that the process, they didn't enjoy the process. That's where this part of the conversation came.
Yeah.
And you sort of ended with sort of how you deal with people and helping them get better. My question is, how does that version of Erick, the one that got that feedback, compare to today's version of Erick? What has been the transition that you've had over that time? How would you do things differently now than you did then?
So this is one of those things that, as you spoke about earlier, you have to take ownership of, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
by the way, notice the cup is going down.
Yeah, as is mine. The ownership comes with maturity, I think. Recognizing that you have something else to learn, as well as you've been in the position for a long time. So I didn't like the feedback I got before. I didn't necessarily agree with the feedback I got before. But I wanted to play the game. And I wanted to follow this company's way of thinking, because this isn't what every company does. If I went to another corporation, they'd be like, no, we want this hard approach. We want this direct approach so that your teams are successful. And if they came to us complaining about being number one, we'd be like, you're number one. What's the problem?
Right.
So I had to learn the way that you approach a situation is different. Everyone is different. And I wasn't doing that before. I was approaching everyone as exactly the same. I assumed everyone wanted to be as successful as I wanted to be all the time. People that are leaders, I assumed in my head, everyone wanted to be like me. Everyone wanted to be like Mike, right? Like, who doesn't want to be like Mike? Everyone want to be like Mike. And Michael Jordan, for the young people out there. There was a commercial. You could look it up later on.
Okay, because he could have been Michael Jackson or Mike Tyson.
No,
that's a whole different situation. Okay, just checking.
When the game's at the end, get the ball in his hand, he's going to score, and wanted to be better.
That sounds like Diddy. Get the ball in his hands.
That's different.
And you can score. That sounds like Diddy.
No, that's different.
All right, I don't know. Okay, just checking.
No,
you know what I'm saying? Okay.
This is different. So Michael Jordan.
That also could be Michael Jackson, balls in his hands.
One of the best. And I don't care what you say about LeBron, it's still Michael Jordan. But
we're gonna stop the podcast right there, buddy.
No. We gotta go back.
Right.
But you want to get the ball in Michael Jordan's hands because he's won. LeBron loses in finals, but Michael Jordan doesn't. Anyhow, so
LeBron has been to 9.
How many has he won?
5.
How many has he won? Okay, and Michael Jordan's won every one that he's been in.
So you're going to punish LeBron. You're going to punish LeBron. This is a whole different pivot. You're going to punish LeBron.
No, we're not.
For having the skill to get to more finals than Michael Jordan does.
Not in the same
with
conversation
different teams.
as Jordan.
With
not
different
in the same
teams.
Conversation. Okay.
So losing in the first round is a better thing. If Michael Jordan lost in the first round and never made it to the finals, that's better.
Did he?
Yes.
No.
He lost in early rounds. Then LeBron, who took these subpar teams to the finals,
and
then lost. And you're going, well, that's
Not even. So because Michael Jordan can drag him over the line, and LeBron couldn't.
He couldn't drag him to the second round.
Okay,
How was that dragging him over the line?
We're going back to business here.
All right,
so,
whatever, yo.
So what
as long as you know how wrong you are. And by the way, I'm a huge Michael Jordan. I'm a Michael Jordan, a Kobe, and a LeBron fan. Yes. But
Michael Jordan was the greatest. Anyhow, the point being is, I assumed everyone wanted to be like me.
The greatest of his time.
I wanted to be pushed harder, and I always felt that if I was given the right tools, I would have always been pushed in the right direction. And I was frustrated that I wasn't surrounded by leaders who were pushing me the right way. And when you make that assumption that everyone wants to be like you, that's where you fail. And what I had to learn was, not everyone is like me. Not everyone wants to be the best. Everyone.
Oh, bro, that's so judgmental, by the way.
No. This is coming from people. Like, I'll ask them, do you want to be a manager? Do you want to grow? And they'll be like, no, I want to stay here. And in my head, I'm like, that took me a long time to understand, is because I assume everyone wants to be the next level. And they don't always want to be the next level.
But that's because you prioritize your professional accomplishments.
Yes.
Some of those people, don't take this wrong, but some of those people are better parents than you.
Sure.
Right. You understand what I'm saying? So your
priorities are different. Priorities are different.
Okay. I just wanted just the whole idea.
I'm saying that's what I had to learn. That's what I had to learn. Because you asked me what would I've done differently, is I would understand not everyone wants to be the best.
Right.
They're happy with
focusing on other things in their lives. Focusing on other things in their lives.
The professional
and
level
water professionally.
The professional level they're at, they're comfortable at.
Right.
And they don't want to be pushed harder to exceed and do other things. Right. And I had to recognize that. And that changed my conversation.
Okay.
And that changed the way that I saw things, because, again, making the assumption that everyone wants to be great and everyone wants to get to the next level is a false assumption. And that's what I had to learn with time.
Okay.
And that was it. And with that, I think our time is up. But that was great. I like that conversation.
Before we do that, I have two things. One, I want to recognize that you have a Dallas Cowboys shirt on, and I have an Oakland Mills shirt on. I just want to.
No one knows what Oakland Mills is.
That's okay, but you know what though? But some people who might listen to this,
5 people.
No, it's a lot. It's a lot. Okay. Do you know what Oakland Mills is? Let's start there.
No, I'm just saying. No one knows. So if I don't know,
Oakland Mills is I grew up in Columbia, Maryland, and I went to Oakland Mills Middle School, and I went to Oakland Mills High School. The Scorps. You know what I'm saying? We
What's a Scorp? Tell me the Scorp.
Sorry, Scorpion.
Scorpions. Okay.
Oops.
People say Scorp.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't like what you do with your hands there, by the way. But anyway, Oakland Mills Scorpions. Just want to shout out to Oakland Mills High School in Columbia, Maryland. Anyway, because at least we won something, unlike the Dallas Cowboys. All right. So before we leave,
we won something. I mean, it was like over 30 years ago, but we've won stuff.
Technically, it might be the same for us. But anyway, so let's, because I don't have the recent information. But we had talked about looking at some things on Reddit in their leadership subreddit and talking about it. So let's take 5 minutes and let's do that, even though we'll go over a little bit. So I pulled up 3 things. So we have the 3 items thrown under the bus by a team member. Next steps. How do you establish credibility when taking over a new department? And then looking for your best advice, which is about a manager who's replacing another manager who didn't have the ability to manage the team. Which one of those 3 do you want me to actually talk about?
Let's go into number 2.
Number 2, which is how do you establish credibility? This is very short. I wanted one of the other ones. We're gonna let it go.
I like number 2 because that's a challenge that most people walk into.
Okay, all right, fair enough. All right, so this comes from Reddit, the subreddit of leadership. I think this was posted a couple of weeks ago. It says, how do you establish credibility when taking over a new department? Question, I have leadership experience, but it's all in one department. Now I'm taking over a different department and I have no experience in the area. I was thinking I'd just be honest and tell the new team I'm going to be learning a lot from them in the next few months. Not sure yet if there are any problem employees that might try to take advantage of my inexperience. I guess they'll reveal themselves eventually. Any other tips for me? So Eric, what other tips would you give that person?
You know, it's something that I think we've all had to walk into as leaders, especially as you progress in your career. And I would agree with him that
or her.
him or her, that the person that comes to you and says, "Oh, thank goodness you're here. I'm so happy that you're here. Let me tell you what's going on." And that person who wants to get in your ear and say, "You're the greatest thing since sliced bread," is usually your problem person.
Mm,
Usually your problem person, and like you said, you'll figure that out over time, because you may think, "Hey, I have somebody on the team that's going to be my ally," and really they're the ones trying to get away with the most.
mm,
And what
mm,
you'll find is the one that's quiet and wants you to leave them alone is the one that's working the hardest and knows exactly what needs to be done. And going into those teams and getting to know them, I call it a good 30, 60, 90 plan. And that is the first 30 days, you go in and you have your one-on-ones with your team.
mm-hmm.
And you talk to them just personal. "Hey, this is who I am. Tell me about yourself. Kids, family, what brought you here, all that kind of stuff." And then the next 30 days, so you're going into your 60, is a little bit more into the business side of things. And you're understanding where they are with their performance and what do they think could be better and such. And within 90 days, you know exactly where everyone's performance is, and you can now have a little bit more detailed conversations. And it turns out that person that was so excited to see you maybe not so excited to have that conversation with you, because they may not be one of the top performers.
Right.
But I say that the biggest thing about going into a new team is get to know your team, and go in with blinders. Don't ask anyone about your team. Don't ask your peers about your team. Don't ask your boss about your team. Just go in with, "Hey, I appreciate the feedback you wanted to give me. I want to go in blind. I want to
Mm,
go and learn who my team is," because that's something that you go in with blinders. You're not prejudging anybody, and you're learning on your own, which is a more organic way of getting buy-in from people. Is as you get to know them, you can say stuff like, "Hey, when we were talking in our first 30 days, you said these were your goals, and this is why you're here, and this is what brought you over here." By 90 days, it's like, "You're not really doing what I thought you would be doing at this point,
mm, mm,
and here's some of the challenges because you took the time to get to know them." And if you hear feedback from other people, you're going to be prejudging them in advance, unfortunately.
mm.
Even if you think you're a stronger manager than that, you're still going to go in with whatever your boss or your peer tells you. Watch out for so and so. Watch out, because they're not as strong as they think they are. But if you make that assessment on your own, it helps create your credibility a little bit more, and it gets them to buy in. No one's told me this before. No one's talked to me like this before, and you've taken that time to build that relationship. As opposed to, if you already have information, you may not build that relationship with them because you're going to be cautious of that person to begin
Mm,
with.
mm.
So.
Okay.
So that's what I've learned, and that is almost the same as going in as a new manager under a bad boss, a bad former boss. That the number three question that you had, because no one ever put them in that position before. Now you have to clean up a little bit with those people that aren't performing the best, and that's a challenge as well, because that former boss that wasn't so great was just letting them do whatever, and they thought they were awesome because they could do whatever.
Mm, mm.
So you're
Okay.
having to clean all that up as well. So I think they go hand in hand, which is why I chose that one.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
You do
Uh,
something similar?
I would agree with a lot of what you said. I think the only thing that I would approach slightly differently is I do think that there's value in hearing other people's perspective. And I do think that but though to your point, you have to make sure that you don't let it taint your perspective to the extent that you now can't make your own assessment, your own
But that
independent assessment.
happens. That happens.
It does, but that
We're
doesn't.
humans.
But
We're
no, no, no.
humans.
So here's the thing: we're humans in that we can't act as if we didn't hear it. But that doesn't mean we can't make our own independent assessment having heard that information. And so I would say that I would want to understand that information, because here's the thing, Eric, is that you are not perfect. And so as a manager, you may have some blind spots. I know you shook your head to lack of perfection. There is lots of evidence and about 50 years of data that suggests your imperfection. But no. But we're all imperfect, right? And so
Sure.
we may have blind spots that we may not see, and that information may be helpful to us. But we have to be incredibly aware of the fact that we could be unduly influenced by the information that we receive. And so I think that we can consider it one data point in all the data points that we're going to collect, because we're going to collect our own assessment of them. Hopefully we're going to collect their fellow employees' assessments of them, and we're going to collect their own individual assessments. So that's one of 4+ data points that we're going to be collecting. I think it's okay to factor all of that in. So I think it's okay to do that. I think that's helpful in making an assessment, because it's just a data point. Ultimately, you as the manager are going to be making the final decision about what you think is the right way to go. Now, but
what's interesting about that is it's the same as when, let's say, what's your favorite movie?
Harlem Nights.
Harlem Nights. Okay, great movie. And let's say you ask somebody, because you're getting ready to go out to see another movie, and you're like, man, I was getting ready to see this new movie that's coming out, and they're like, oh, that's terrible. Do not watch that movie. And you're like, okay, oh, all right. I really was excited to see that movie. What'd you think of Harlem Nights? And they're like, oh man, that was a crap movie. I I mean, I don't know why anyone would waste their time watching it. Are you kidding me right now? You know, like
Right.
that's going to change your perspective of what they just told you about the movie you wanted to go see, right? Because your number one movie was Harlem Nights, and they're telling you that's a crap movie, and now they just told you not to go see this new movie because they didn't think that was good. So you're thinking, maybe I don't know about that judgment of that person, because how many times have you had insight that, hey, you need to really rely on this employee? I know you're new in the department, but this is my go-to person. And that go-to person that you find out is just doing enough to get by and just kissing ass to get to that level, you know? So that changes your perspective of the person who gave you that information in the first place, because their judgment might be a little bit skewed.
But that's
And
also information that's helpful to know, right?
okay,
If I determine based on so coming to a new position, I still haven't answered the question yet, but let's go to what you're talking about. If I come into a new position and my future boss, my current new boss, tells me their assessments of some of my people, and I hear them out, and then I determine that their assessment is off, that's helpful information to know about my boss. Right.
yes,
That doesn't mean
yeah,
that's all the information I'm going to use, but that's helpful information to know about my boss, that they made an assessment and I actually disagree. And I've had that situation where I've disagreed, because I think that some bosses focus too much on how well they get along with people, and other bosses focus too much on if people do something regardless of their intervention. Right. When I say regardless, meaning they don't intervene and they don't help them grow, but they just go, do they do it without me? And I think that my assessment of people is going to be based on how do they adjust with my intervention, with me working with them, right? And so that's going to be the large basis of my assessment. So it's a data point. I just say it's a data point, and you have
okay,
to be willing to put it in perspective.
yeah,
I will tell you that my a conversation, I know we're going a little long, even longer here, but a conversation I used to have with my daughter. I had it with my son sometimes, but a lot of times with my daughter, because we had these conversations, was about perspective. And so I would tell her, I would say, and I'm going to find something really quickly. I'm going to use my glass for a second, and this camera. So I'm going to say, how big, and how important is this glass, right? And I would
well,
put
you're
something
holding
like,
it up against the camera.
yeah,
You're holding it up
I would put
it's
like a tennis
huge.
ball in her face, and I was like, how
Yeah,
big is it? And everything you can see, how big is it? And she would go, well, it's most of what I can see right now.
yeah,
I was like, yeah, that's how you're approaching this issue that you're dealing with right now. But if you think about where this issue's place is in your entire life, in the entire perspective of what you're thinking of, and you put it back. Sorry, to get it right. Sorry, you put it back here. Now, how big is it?
Much
And she
smaller.
would, it's much smaller. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist. That doesn't mean it's not important. That just means when you think about the entirety of what your life is about, the entirety of what that employee's performance is about, the entirety of your job, whatever the circumstance is, you have to have the ability to put things in perspective. And I think people struggle with that. So I think that if you struggle with that, then maybe you do make the decision not to hear that feedback. But if you can, in fact, categorize that and you can put that in perspective so that you can say, this is one person who happens to be my boss, right? Because that's an important thing to consider. It's not just one person's perspective, it's my boss's perspective, which matters. But it's just my boss's perspective. And ultimately, I'm responsible for managing this employee and helping them get to where they need to be. Then you can sort of think about that in a different way. So it's just related to that specific issue. That's what I would say. But here's the other thing. But to answer the question, what I will say is, even when you come from an area, the same area, and you have a lot of subject matter expertise in the area that you're not overseeing as a new manager over that department, you shouldn't approach it like you know everything. You should actually approach it like there's a lot that I don't know. And I am here to learn as part of this process, right?
Sure.
So at no point should you be saying to anybody, including yourself, especially and including yourself, that I know all this. I know exactly what. Nope, you don't. Right? You have to learn the people. You have to learn how they engage with each other, how they engage with the mission of the organization, right? How they view themselves as individuals. And all of that is most of what it takes to be a leader. And so you have to understand all of those things. And those are things that you come in not knowing. And so you have to go in going, there is so much I don't know. I am, they have the quadrant, right? Incompetence and consciousness, right? Yeah. You have to be consciously incompetent that I don't know everything that I need to know to manage this team effectively. There's a lot that I need to learn. And so you go in with humility and understanding that I am going to try to learn. Now, here's the reality. The person said, not sure yet if there are any problem employees that might try to take advantage of my inexperience. And what I will say is, it won't just be problem employees that try to take advantage of you as a new manager. Most employees are going to try to do something based on the fact that you don't know them, you don't know the situation, to take advantage of it. Most employees are going to do that. Maybe all, but let's go with most, right? So they're going to do that. So it doesn't matter whether you have experience or inexperience. Most employees are going to take advantage of the fact that you are a new manager, but you can use that to your advantage. Because if they are a problem employee, it's called a problem employee. If they've had troubles in the past, you can use that as an opportunity to give them a fresh start so that they don't have to carry the weight of what they were dealing with before, their lack of performance before, into the future. They can actually decide right now, and I tell people that, decide right now that the future is going to look different from the past. But also, those employees that have already proven themselves, guess what? They got to prove it again. That's just the reality of the situation. They got to prove themselves again. We are not going to rest on our laurels. We're not going to decide, well, for the last 3 years, I've been great, so I don't have to be great next year. Yes, you do, right? So now it's your opportunity to prove that how good you were in the last 3 years was not a fluke. Last year was not a fluke. You can still be that good going forward. Again, I'm going to say it all a little softer in individual conversations, but everybody has a chance for a fresh start, and that's a good thing. So I would encourage this person to go in assuming that there's a lot they don't know, with an inquisitive mindset, not go in like a bull in a china shop, making a bunch of changes right away, but going in trying to learn. And similar to what we talked about earlier, the people on the team know most of the things that need to be improved already. Lean on their experience. They will tell you what needs to be done, and you can use that to make the changes that you need to make going forward.
100%. And that's my tactic these days, is I go in and it's something that when I was younger, I was scared to do. I was scared to say, I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what the job is.
Yeah, but now you just say that during specific moments with specific people that I won't mention.
And now when you go in, but now when you go into a new job,
I don't know what I'm doing.
go into a new job. I think that is humbling.
Yeah.
It's humanizing. And I think leaning on your team allows them to feel empowered. Okay. I was hired as basically the manager of this team, and I've never done this before over here. So I'm going to ask you a lot of questions. I'm going to seek to understand. It doesn't mean that I'm questioning you. It means I'm trying to learn from you.
Right.
And hopefully you can learn from me along the way as well. As I'm learning from you, hopefully, we do this
Absolutely.
together
Yep.
as a team. And I think that naturally implies that if you were a top performer, then you got to show it again. And if
Mm-hmm.
you were a problem person, you get a reset. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
anything about you. I don't know your past. I don't want to check in with HR. Tell me about so and so here. No, show me. Show me who you are. Show me what you want to be, and we'll go down this path together.
Right.
And I think that to your point, that comes with maturity. That
Mm-hmm.
comes with time. That comes with being humble. And as a young kid, you go in thinking, I know everything, and I'm not ever going to admit that I don't know anything. And
Right.
I think as you get older, you realize you don't know everything. I mean, you lasted 29 years of marriage. You didn't know anything the first 10, 15 years
I
of
don't
how
know
to make a
anything
relationship
now,
work,
bro. Like, I act like nothing. Sound nothing now. What are you talking about? You know what I'm saying?
But
Shoot.
you learn to say, I don't know. I'm sorry. I meant this in the best way possible.
Right.
Like
Right. Right.
I'm trying to say, please don't do this because this hurts me. And she's still upset with you for saying whatever she was doing hurt you. Even though
Mm-hmm.
you try to say it in the nicest way possible, you still are learning how to communicate to your wife so she doesn't get upset.
Right.
Because that's as men, that's all we want. And as leaders, we don't want our team to be upset. We don't want our
Right.
associates to be upset. We want our associates to enjoy coming into work every day. And we want to make them the best that they want to be. And
Well,
that's the
that's
key.
what we
The
hope.
best
That's what we hope.
they
Yes.
want to be, not the best you want them to be, the
Right.
best they want to be. And I think we lose sight of that sometimes as leaders. But as we get older, we recognize as we're maturing, we don't know everything. And we have to ask the right questions. And that's the key to success, is asking the right questions to
And
understand.
shutting up
Yes,
when you ask it. Shut up. Be quiet. Don't say nothing. Listen to
let
what
them
people
talk.
tell you. Yes.
Let them
Absolutely.
talk. Let them
Absolutely.
talk. So, good conversation this week, man. I enjoyed. I know we missed last week. We had a lot going on, but I enjoyed this, even though it went a little bit longer. I think it was a lot of useful things here.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
as we close out, do you have any sponsors on your side, Eric?
On my side, I enjoy taking that stress off of companies that say, I don't know what else to do and I'm unhappy
Mm-hmm.
owning my business, and I want to make you happy again. So let me know what I can do to work on that for you as well. So that's what I do with our. I know it's considered consulting, but it's just, what would you like to do so you don't have to walk away from the company that you created?
Mm,
And let me know
mm.
what I can do to help you out.
Love it. Love it. And for my side, I'm sponsored by Bish Consulting. We do business consulting and keynotes, sponsored by the GMC Collection. GMC Collection, we're still sitting at 3 sales, but it's cool. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? and then, and then finally, we're sponsored by
Three. You
Bishop
had
Bates.
one 2 weeks ago, dude. Now you got three.
At 3, maybe I had one since we last talked. I thought
Yeah.
it was still at 3, but maybe. And then finally, we're sponsored by Bish Bates's voiceovers. I do voiceover work because I'm bringing sexy back. So if you want a black sexy voice, okay, don't do me. Do like Idris Elba or Morgan Freeman. But if you want like a subpar black sexy voice, by the way, he's looking up because his wife is hearing my voice, and he knows he's about to get lucky because she hears my voice. Then hire
She
me.
hears nothing. I'm in here.
That she hears it. She
You see
hears
the headset.
She
You see the
hears
headset,
it.
right? You see
She
the headphones.
hears
You
it
know
in
how
her
headphones work.
soul.
You understand how
It is
headphones work. It's
my
already
voice
here.
is vibrating in her
Yes.
body.
Okay,
She
that's not a
hears it.
thing.
Yeah, that sounds
So
real
I don't
creepy.
have to
Actually, the
bring.
vibrating the
I
body
don't
sounds
have to
creepy. So we're gonna go
bring,
ahead and undo that.
Yeah, clear that part out. But I don't. As Prince said, I don't have to bring sexy back because it's always been here.
There you go.
Right here.
By the Silver Fox, Eric Richey. All right, buddy. Look, as
All right,
always,
man.
it's good to talk to you, man. I hope to
You
talk to you
too,
again
sir.
soon. Okay, I'll talk to you
Take
next
care,
week.
man. Talk
Be
to you.
good.
Yeah. Take care.
All right, bye.
You've been listening to On Second Thought with Erick Richey and Bish Bates. where it's never too late to rethink, rewind, and revisit the conversation. If you laughed, learned, or had your own on second thought moment, go ahead and subscribe, share, and leave us a review. We want to hear your thoughts, even if you change them later. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at On Second Thought Show and join the conversation. Until next time, keep thinking, keep growing, and don't be afraid to say, you know what? On second thought,